So September 11th was a real inflection point. I watched one tower collapse and I watched the second plane go through. And it was so extraordinarily devastating. I had friends and family in New York City. I was speaking to other expatriates from New Zealand, South Africa, America. Everybody was very distraught. And I spoke to some Saudis and noticed that they were not distraught. Some of the nurses asked me to come and talk to them late one evening. So we went into an empty room and they wanted to tell me what had happened on 9/11, which was that there had been some Saudi female physicians who had ordered cakes in celebration of the towers collapsing. I was surrounded by multiply board-certified physicians and highly educated people, and I could see that there was almost a satisfaction that this had happened.
Hi guys, this is Sahar TV, and in today's video we'll see Dr. Kanta Ahmed, who's a Pakistani woman who grew up in the United Kingdom. And in this video she's going to expose what got her to support Israel and the West. Let's watch.
I could see that there was almost a satisfaction that this had happened. That made me wonder, what has come out from amongst us as Muslims? My name is Dr. Kanta Ahmed, and this is my story. I was born in London. My parents were very young, newly arrived to Britain from Pakistan. My parents are very devoted, observant Muslims, and it was very important to us that our faith would not be an imposition on the society that we were sharing. My parents felt it was essential that they teach me Islam personally. So it's my mother who had me read the Quran always in translation. I never questioned why that was until decades later when I saw children that had been radicalized by the Taliban. At 15, I had said to my father, I think I want to be a journalist. I'd like to work for the BBC. And my father said, there is no one who looks like you on television. You are going to medical school. I entered the application and I found myself at medical school at Nottingham. And the first 2 years were challenging. It was not a picnic for me. But when I started to meet patients and sit in front of another person and get to listen to their story, I was hooked. I'm a pulmonologist, critical care, and sleep disorder specialist. The day I came home with my medical school diploma, it was my father's ambition that I be a doctor, and he said, now is the time for your arranged marriage. And I thought to myself, I don't like the sound of that. And I migrated to the United States within a year. I remember the first time I came to New York. It was this colossal force, and it had this incredible feeling of anything is possible, and it somehow felt much more vast and much more full of opportunity and possibility. There was something bigger and better, and I was just captivated. And then when I had to leave the United States at the end of my visa, I was heartbroken. By chance, a childhood friend was visiting me that weekend. He lived in Dubai, and he said, they have a lot of doctors in the Middle East. Did you ever think about going to the Middle East? And I found a job and was hired to work in Saudi Arabia. 3 weeks later, I was on a plane. As soon as I got off the plane in 1999, I saw the line was separating into men and women. I felt exposed because my hair was not covered. And then when I was met by the hospital officials who'd come to pick me up, the windows would be blacked out so that nobody could see women passengers that were in the back. So it was an incredible shock. I didn't have autonomy. I had to hand over my passport, which was now in keeping of the officials in the hospital. If I had to go out, then I would need a driver because I was not allowed to drive. And I would have to wear an abaya, a full-length cloak covering all my body, and a headscarf.
That's Islam only in Saudi Arabia. Imagine what will happen if Islam goes to the West. Oh boy. Oh boy.
That actually, I think, was the first place that I really became aware of my gender. I'd always functioned in the West just like a male doctor. Suddenly, everything relating to me was made to be about gender. So September 11th was a real inflection point. I watched one tower collapse and I watched the second plane go through. And it was so extraordinarily devastating. I had friends and family in New York City. I was speaking to other expatriates from New Zealand, South Africa, America, everybody was very distraught. And I spoke to some Saudis and noticed that they were not distraught. Some of the nurses asked me to come and talk to them late one evening. So we went into an empty room and they wanted to tell me what had happened on 9/11, which was that there had been some Saudi female physicians who had ordered cakes in celebration of the towers collapsing. I was surrounded by multiply board-certified physicians and highly educated people, and I could see that there was almost a satisfaction that this had happened. That made me wonder, what has come out from amongst us as Muslims? And that began my odyssey, which continues even today.
The funny thing is that people will still blame Israel and blame the Jews for the collapse of 9/11, but just look at the people celebrating. These are the people who are suspected of doing it. Period.
But I must say, thankfully, Saudi Arabia is not the same country it was back then. After seeing 9/11, I came back to New York. Ground Zero was still on fire. You could smell it. And I made a decision to write a book called In the Land of Invisible Women about being a Muslim woman in Saudi Arabia. And I became sort of an amateur political scientist. And I realized very early on that the number one recipient of Islamist jihadist terror has been Israel. So I began reading about Israel's experience with Hamas. And finally, I thought, look, I've been reading and writing, I better go and visit. It's just an astonishing place. I went in and I saw patients, and on the door of every patient's room was a mezuzah, and inside was a Israeli Muslim nurse and an Israeli Jewish doctor, or vice versa. I remember one moment, I was in an elevator, and there was like probably all of the great religions were in the one elevator. So I saw the most amazing diversity. And the amount of times I've been to Israel, I've pretty much seen all aspects you can over the years. And it's a place that I recommend everybody should go and visit. Some of the most amazing discoveries I made is when I said, please, can I see inside the Hamas infrastructure? Can I go inside a newly discovered tunnel? And what was amazing to me was the level of construction, ventilation, electricity. And I thought, I am inside the belly of the ideology that first became apparent to me as I was in Saudi Arabia watching my TV. When Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, within 48 hours, or perhaps even sooner, people were denying that it was happening. So I think it was the intense denial and the intense minimization of this event that made me feel compelled to say, I'm going to go and see, and I'm going to go not because I'm Muslim and not because I condemn radical Islam, but because I'm a human being. And precisely because I'm not Israeli and because I'm not Jewish, it's important to go and acknowledge that.
My suggestion to you is, if you're on the fence, you don't know too much about the situation, buy a plane ticket when possible, when you can, and visit. Go to pharmacies, go to hospitals, just to see, not to get hospitalized or get medicine, but just to see, just to feel the vibe. And you'll see the biggest lie you've been told in years, that Israel's an apartheid state, that we treat Arabs and Muslims like crap. It will surprise you. Go to the beaches and see how they're treated. You'll love it.
So I felt it was a big responsibility. When I arrived, I realized the whole plane was full of people going to enlist from New York. And next to me was a very religious Jewish woman and her newborn. And I remember all through the flight thinking about this woman and her newborn and thinking about what had happened and what I was about to behold. I personally examined the bodies of the dead with forensics. They showed no mercy. They spared nobody, not woman, not child, not pregnant mother. I saw bodies that were multiply violated, meaning people had been executed in many ways. Their bodies had been desecrated after their murder. I saw remains that were absolutely unintelligible without high-resolution CT scans. I talked to morgue workers that were carrying body bags, trying not to have the charcoal in their hands crumble. This is who is being supported if they are not being rejected. You are either with Hamas or you are not with Hamas. There's no middle ground here. They do the same indiscriminate killing of their own civilians in pursuit of their genocidal hatred for Israel. The Muslim world doesn't understand what it is empowering. There have been protests in Hamburg, Germany, where Islamists in Germany have been agitating and demonstrating for a Sharia state inside Germany. And that is extremely dangerous for Muslims. It's extremely dangerous for anybody that lives in those societies. For me, the United States has always been a beacon, this place of hope and light and possibility and opportunity. And I can confirm that America has been everything and more. It took me almost 25 years to become an American. It was worth every minute. To connect the dots further, in New York, it's my privilege to look after for decades people that survived 9/11, people that went to clean up Ground Zero that now still have illnesses. So I have a panoptical view of what this ideology has.
By the way, guys, I watched this on PragerU.com. They have an amazing website with a bunch of great resources. This video is not sponsored by them. I just think that they're an awesome source to get information from, watch amazing content on. It's a great website. I'm going to attach it down below so you can watch it. Hamas represents the ideology of Islam almost to a T. They believe in the same things that were committed back in Muhammad's time in the 7th century. So just imagine what it's like if Sharia comes to Germany or anywhere else in the world. What do you think is going to happen to the minorities? What do you think is going to happen to the Christians and the Jews and the Hindus? They're going to be subjugated. They're going to be oppressed. We're going to have to pay the jizya because we're non-Muslims unless we convert, or we have another option, die. Hamas is just an example of what's going to happen to the West if Islam takes over the West. And I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the ideology. The ideology that doesn't approve you, doesn't approve me, and doesn't approve every person that is not a Muslim. In their books and their sources, it teaches to not befriend the Jews and the Christians. And then you're wondering why the extremists, some people call them the extremists, they're not the extremists. It's the people that follow Islam to a T. Then you're wondering why they do what they do? Why they ram into Christmas markets? Why they stab Jews down the street and explode next to people in the West? That's why. Because they're not supposed to be friends with us. They're supposed to make their religion prevail and take over all other religions. Surah 9:33 in the Quran. Thank you for watching. And of course, I'll attach the information of this video down below so you can watch more incredible videos just like this. Thank you. If you'd like to watch more of my stuff, please check out my channel down below. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification button so you can be notified every time I upload new content. If you'd like to support me and the channel financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links below. Also, we now have a Discord that you can join down in the link below. And now you can become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.